After rescuing Hammer Girl, Lin decided it was the perfect moment to take on the ancient phoenix, mostly for fun, maybe to find some revenge along the way. At first, everything seemed to be going his way, and he proudly declared victory as he struck the creature down. However, he quickly learns the phoenix wasn't quite finished, and for some unknown reason, it rebirthed for a second round. What followed was a massive explosion that shook the ground. The blast tore through his skeletal army, shattering nearly 100 soldiers in an instant. Lin, slightly dazed and more than a little confused, wonders how this all happened. Moreover, the system notifies him that the boss has entered its second rebirth, rendering it invincible for the time being. The realization hits hard because if the bird could revive again, then perhaps there's a third or even fourth time, which meant his only option would be to keep killing it until it stayed down. Fortunately, he still had the mighty soldier buff. Meanwhile, the sky above rips open as a massive hole appears. From it, fire tornadoes spiral downward and a colossal claw emerges. Both of them freeze in shock, struggling to comprehend what on earth that thing is. Then, realizing it was trying to snatch the egg away, obviously, he wasn't about to let that happen. So he reaches out and unleashes skeletal prison and commands the rest of his skellies to charge. Yet to his utter surprise, the shackles shatter and his skellies are torn apart without even getting anywhere near the claw. Shit was getting real, and he had a brief idea of who it might be. He suddenly halts, orders a retreat, and watches as the claw effortlessly snatches the egg before vanishing. Hammer Girl, still shaken, was horrified by the presence. Lin calmly reminds her of the time they fought the ancient dragon boss, and further reveals what they just witnessed was actually its true form. Since she'd been knocked out during that fight, she never had the chance to see it. Until now. But the chaos didn't end there. A crushing pressure suddenly descends on them, so overwhelming that Hammer Girl's stunned expression reveals just how terrifying it feels. Or maybe just the artist doing her dirty. Either way, our boy instantly brandishes his scythe. Moments later, the colossal claw emerges once more and snatches them like a claw machine. Before they can react, they are swiftly swept up, vanishing into the rift as the gaping hole in the sky seals shut. When they regain their senses, they have been transported into the very heart of the core region. Lin slowly stood up while Hammer Girl lay next to him unconscious. There, sprawled lazily across the ground, rests the ancient dragon. It sounded quite annoyed, as though Lin's arrival had come far too late. Startled but steady, Lin explains his progress, insisting his leveling speed had been quite decent. Suddenly, the ancient phoenix screeches in fury, probably still mad that our boy almost made fried chicken out of him. However, Lin quickly realized the ancient phoenix was nothing more than the dragon's pet. Tired of its yapping, the dragon orders it to quiet down, then flicks it away as if swatting a fly. Then, shifting the focus, the dragon demands that Lin hand it over. Lin knew the dragon was referring to the box entrusted to him by Jiang Yi. Taking it out of his storage space, he watches as the dragon swallows it in one gulp. Amused, the beast remarks that Jiang Yi seems to grow quite a bit, and that humans so respect him. Still, true to its word, the dragon announces that Lin has now earned the right to learn its name. Activating his detection spell, before him lies Antares, a level 100 entity and a supreme-level world boss. Beyond the name and level, no other information is available. The sheer magnitude of its existence leaves Lin utterly shaken. Observing his reaction, Antares appears pleased, remarking that very few have ever been granted the honor of knowing his true name. Furthermore, Antares declares he wants to make a deal with him, and asserts Lin won't regret it. So Lin straightens, prepared to listen. With a flick of its claw, a projection materializes, revealing the lower level of the eternal trial grounds. Within lies a place called Thunder Burial Canyon, and he wants our boy to find the giant crystal. Antares hands over a drop of his own blood, and instructs Lin to drip it onto the crystal and retrieve whatever is inside. Cautiously, Lin questions why Antares would not simply go about itself since he's so powerful. Antares, however, firmly asserts that his reasons are his own, and assures Lin that the deal will not cheat him. Reluctantly yet determined, Lin agrees to the task, though he admits he's too underleveled. The dragon waves it off and tells him there's no rush. For now, he announces, it is time to discuss the rewards Lin will receive. Antares began by generously offering Lin a full set of legendary equipment. To his astonishment, Lin simply shakes his head and flatly refuses. Shocked by his reaction, the dragon presses the point, emphasizing that even among humans, owning an entire legendary set is rare. Yet Lin firmly insists he has no need for it. After all, his scythe, the Genesis scepter, and the cauldron within him already make his arsenal unmatched. Besides, he's been wearing the same pair of pants for over 200 chapters. We all know it's probably a secret piece of divine-level gear anyway. Momentarily stumped, Antares scratches his head, trying to think of a suitable alternative. He declares that perhaps a piece of bloodthirsty python heart would suffice, promising it would grant Lin a lot of stats. Lin, however, calmly explains that his teacher had already gotten him a piece during his second-class transfer. After a closer sniff, Antares confirms he was telling the truth, and remarks Lin's teacher isn't so bad after all. Frustrated, he cycles through more possibilities, suggesting a few more items, but Lin casually notes he possesses those as well. Eventually, Antares sighs in defeat, and remarks that perhaps Lin should simply tell him what he desires. Surprisingly, Lin decided to ask the dragon some questions that have long troubled him. Intrigued, Antares agrees. Lin begins with the matter of the corpse realm and its infamous corpse poison, asking if there's a cure. At once, Antares' eyes widen in shock. He observes that it's remarkable Lin even knows of that place, let alone survived it. Sniffing again, he deduces Lin has also ventured into the life-secret realm, and furthermore, carries the Genesis scepter itself. No wonder, he remarks, Lin rejected legendary gear. Since it's no longer a secret, he took the scepter out, and Antares burst into laughter, declaring it absurdly ironic. He explains how so many people fought and died for a mere God of Life title, only to perish miserably, which he believed they all deserved. Returning to Lin's question, however, his response is grim. He asserts that corpse poison has no cure. Even at the divine level, once infected, they face certain death, and the stronger the person, the faster the poison consumes them, and further explains it's a forbidden spell that is capable of killing anyone below the level of supreme divine. Lin is unsettled by this revelation, silently wondering if his Lich General truly is the only existence capable of cleansing the poison. Either way, he decided to keep that thought to himself. Moving on, Lin poses a second question asking if a fallen divine level could ever be resurrected. Antares leans into a lengthy explanation. But in summary, before reaching divine level, resurrection is feasible so long as one plants a soul imprint. However, once reaching divine level, it no longer works. While the whole thing is difficult but not entirely impossible, Antares remarks with pride that he's the only person who possesses the power to resurrect a divine level, even resurrect Zhang Yi himself, who's level 98 if he wanted to. At once, Lin speculates that Zhang Yi's dealings with Antares might involve resurrection, though he chooses not to probe deeper. Finally, Lin asks about the barren beasts and how to kill them. Antares was slightly intrigued that our boy actually went to so many places, after knowing it was Lin's teachers taking him there, while also encountering the Beast King itself. Antares even complimented them. However, as for how to kill them, Antares assures him they can certainly be killed, so long as the purity of one's strength is sufficient. Purity, being a new concept now, gnaws at Lin's mind. After all, even White Divine, powerful as he is, being level 95 known for his brute strength, clearly wasn't enough to make him wonder just how insane someone has to be to kill it. He reasons that perhaps only a supreme divine would be capable of slaying such beasts. Naturally, his next question is how to reach that level. Antares casts him a knowing glance and remarks that being level 50 while pondering such matters is laughably premature. Nevertheless, he tells him this is the last question, and if he really wants to use it here. By now, Antares was clearly getting impatient, but our boy pressed on because this was the one answer he needed most, to at least set a real goal so he could push himself further. Finding Lin's persistence amusing, Antares explains that upon reaching level 99, there are 3 possible paths to becoming a supreme divine. The first, almost the simplest, is arranging a supreme divine magic array using materials and resources. The second relies on artifacts like the Genesis scepter in Lin's hand. The third, and most arduous, requires a person to reach the absolute limit, then push one attribute past 10 million. Lin eagerly presses for the differences between the 3 paths. Though Antares already said that's the last question, Lin cleverly flatters him, praising his vast wisdom and immeasurable experience, insisting such an ancient being surely wouldn't bicker with someone like him. Amused by the remark, Antares relents, elaborating that breakthroughs through raw attributes yield the strongest results, while relying on artifacts comes second, and setting up a magic array using resources produces the weakest kind of supreme divine. Lin nods, and this didn't come as a surprise because White Divine had explained that borrowed power could never rival one's own foundation. Therefore, he resolves to take the third path. With that, Antares spreads his wings and prepares to leave, reminding Lin not to forget their deal. Yet Lin quickly speaks up with one final request. Irritated, Antares narrows his eyes, sounding like he was threatening our boy, saying the greedy ones often meet early deaths. Lin, however, holds his ground, calmly asserting that the value of a few questions hardly compares to the risk of his life. If the dragon truly wished to kill him, it would take no more than a breath. Landing with a heavy thud, Antares listens. Lin merely asks that once he completes the task and retrieves whatever Antares was looking for, in exchange, he wants useful materials. Pretty much things that Antares likely considers worthless. Hearing this, Antares unexpectedly laughs and admits he thought Lin would attempt a ridiculous demand. He assures Lin that not only will he provide the materials, but he will also add a special gift. Lin chooses not to pry further, satisfied with the deal. Antares flaps his wings and sends both Lin and Hammer Girl away. However, our boy notices a weird look on Antares' face and knows he was up to no good. Antares' low chuckle echoes in his ears, remarking that Lin should not mistake him for a fool so easily manipulated. When Lin opens his eyes again, the surroundings have shifted. Darkness blankets the land, though colossal plants loom in every direction. By now it was clear that Antares had already teleported him straight into the lower level.